me just see. Oh yeah, there you are.
Can you see me?
No. You can't.
I just looked my hair before we do it.
There's only 15 minutes.
I know, maybe I can do that right now.
Yeah, yeah, you probably should.
All right, I'll do something back in 1 second.
Okay, you call me back when you're ready. All right. I don't know if is that Amber or Michelle? All right, well, maybe you're not here. Maybe you're just logged in. That's how I'm going to be right now. Oh, wait, we are recording. I need recording. And hello, everybody. I just want to, hi.
Hi.
I want to welcome everybody to the first ever meeting of the High Council. My name is Para Sophia, and I'm going to be a co-host of this council along with my dear friend and colleague. I'm going to spotlight her video here, Isa Dona. And for those of you who don't know either one of us, both of us are spiritual channels in different capacities. I tend to be much more of a verbal channel of wisdom. I'm a storyteller and a channel for the Akashic records, and I really specialize in passing messages through the matrix, you might say. And Isa is an embodiment of the Divine Mother, an avatar of Sophia Christ consciousness, and she channels, she's a really powerful gift of channeling energy. And so her specialty is tuning star seeds and ascended masters to the golden age of miracles. And this is a real, if you guys haven't met Isa before, this is a real power that she's bringing. I know she's been in some very deep meditative states preparing for today's council meeting. And of course, this is a role that the Divine Mother, you know, Sophia, in whose name this council is called, Goddess of Wisdom, plays for us all. She's the incubator, the holder of space and time, and this whole experience of life that we get to be engaged in. And I don't know how much Isa's planning on speaking tonight, because I know she was telling me before we began that she was feeling called to be more in a space of silence. But I just want to say that, you know, this council, before we start on the topic tonight, I want to really talk about the High Council and what it is, and the energy, the intention behind this group. And I'm just going to mute everybody again for a brief moment while I do that, just because so that we're not getting a lot of interference. But you know, the High Council is really it's a group of beings. It's a real bandwidth of consciousness, a real level of consciousness. of Sophia Christ beings. So these are divine light beings that serve the creation, that serve Sophia, which is the goddess of wisdom, that is the creation. And they are, you know, our elders and our guides. And I personally feel that I'm an emissary or a servant of this particular spiritual lineage. I feel Isa probably feels the same way. And before we begin the meeting today, we're just going to take a moment to attune to the High Council and to this Sophia Christ consciousness, because one of the intentions of this council is that really, you know, there are no leaders of the council. We are the trusted servants that are holding this space, but everybody who is here and everybody who participates, whether it's, you know, either by listening and receiving or by speaking or by offering a gift, we are in the process of creating a group sort of collective experience of allowing the wisdom of Sophia to manifest organically through our group consciousness. So through the we, or through the all of everybody who's here. And so we've got, you know, I think we've got about 25 people on the lines right now, and we may have more, and certainly more listening in during webcast. And so it's important for us to take this time to really tune in. And for that, I'm going to pass this over to Isa now, and I'm just going to unmute your line, Isa. And if you want to guide us in the attunement process.
Thank you so much, Akara. I really appreciate you organizing this meeting tonight, this gathering. I'm so excited to be here and excited to be here with everyone. So we just want to welcome ourselves to this space of presence. And that means we're going to take a moment to just breathe with our hearts. So we are going to breathe very gently yet deeply into the heart space and into the realization that we're here together and that you are here yourself. So you can just allow your eyes to close. And just locating the heart and the body. And allowing all of your attention to be here in this collective heart space. And just allowing the breath to flow freely. So noticing how free this heart space really is. This gateway. So you are the gatekeeper of your heart. And when you breathe like this, you allow that gate to open. And just knowing and trusting that you are in a safe space. So this is a guarded, safe space where only love is allowed. And we'll take just another moment to breathe like this before I hand it back to Akara. And you can keep breathing like this for as long as you like as you're listening. If you want to have eyes open or eyes closed. And just really allowing yourself to be present and to listen. And just a final word about listening, that there is a time for listening and a time for silence. And there's a time for speaking and for sharing truth that comes in honestly and purely through this collective heart channel. And you will know when it's time to be quiet and listen and when it's time to speak. And if later, if you feel guided to speak, please listen to that guidance. We truly want to hear the truth that is coming through all of us equally. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much, Akara. I can't wait.
Thank you, Isa. So I'm going to go over, since it's our first meeting, I'm just going to go over a few of the guidelines. The purpose of this council is to allow for the sharing of collective wisdom and spiritual activation that can take place through our group collective consciousness. There are no leaders of this council. There are volunteers and moderators and trusted servants who provide a facilitation role, but your presence and your wisdom, if you wish to share, is just as important and welcome as anybody else in the group. You may also choose to not share and simply receive from the group. The guidelines for the council are, number one, that when we come to council, we come in the spirit of Sophia, the goddess of wisdom, with the intention to share the light of our higher selves. So this means that when we do share, we share from a place of upliftment. Obviously, all of us have a what you might call a lower self or a human self and a pain body. And it's fine to share from that place, but to share from, I feel that our lower self is there to provide a compassion and empathy for others, and to really be mindful, not that we're not here to gripe or to complain or to drag everybody down, but we're here to provide positive upliftment and healing, because we heal, obviously, when we share honestly and transparently from a place of humility and also from a place of courage. It takes courage to share truly. And some of the topics, at least the one tonight, I think is a little bit more vulnerable than maybe some of our other topics will be. Number two, each council meeting has a topic, and we just ask that the conversation remain focused on this topic at hand as much as possible. This allows us to really actualize the group mastermind effect to bring the greatest amount of light and healing and breakthroughs around the topic at hand. And note that we are going to be planning, hopefully many more council sessions on a lot of other topics. And we are open to hearing from you guys what you want to see covered in the High Council. But for today, we want to, for each session, we want to remain focused on the topic at hand. Number three, there will be healing transmissions and other gifts that may be offered by council members during our sessions. And for the sake of clarity in our group's organization, the rule is that we're only going to have either the hosts or speakers offer the gifts, because if we had everybody trying to offer healing energy or trying to do, whatever the gift is, I think it would become a little bit chaotic for us all. And we are open to featuring other people, healers, sound healers, artists, whatever it is that you feel you have to bring to the council. We are very interested in having those gifts and receiving those gifts, but we ask that that's planned before a council session. And that's just so that we can keep everything organized around the solitary focus and intent of each session. And if you're interested in, being a part of the council and being a speaker, a featured speaker, somebody who's offering a healing gift, you can contact me, Kara, Kara, at wakingbeauty.com, or you could email admin@wakingbeauty.com and let me know. Me or Isa, you could contact either one of us. Isa, I don't know your email address. So
It's Isadonna at alllovehealing.com. So Isadona at alllovehealing.
Thank you. And finally, the council meeting will begin with an introduction of the topic and a sharing by the panel of speakers. And then we will open it up to council members to share their reflections at the end. And we'll open it up to council members to share their reflections. And then we close the space with the offering of any gifts, resources, or healings that are created through the council session. So this is an organic and an evolving experience. This is obviously our first one, and we are still working out all the kinks of how it's gonna flow. But I wanna introduce now our topic for tonight, which is spiritual awakening and mental illness. So I'll share that the way the council was formed was not just through my own idea. It was actually an experience of, me experiencing some intense, weird physical suffering that was, I feel, very ascension based, where I was processing karma in the collective. And I kind of got the message that there were other people, other healers, other priestesses out there that were also suffering, or like literally I've now heard from other people this was during the government shutdown. I've heard from other women that were bedridden during that time, just totally bedridden. And so I started getting the message that we were suffering more than we needed to because we were in isolation. And there was this convergence that just kind of happened naturally. Isa, you were one of the women that I talked to during that time. There was a few others where we just started, sharing the information, and it started activating all of us that we were like, okay, we need to get together and do something about this. And we did, and we just had like a clearing in the Akashic record that was really amazing. And I realized at that point in time that this is an experience that's really needed, a place where we can gather and share wisdom. And especially the topic tonight is spiritual awakening and mental illness, because I think that mental illness in particular is something that can be a quite burdensome part of the process of spiritual awakening. So I'm going to read, and something that can be really greatly alleviated with the right frame of reference and the right support structures in your life. So this is a place for us to share that frame of reference and those support structures that get us out of negative mindsets, or get us out of depressions, or get us out of the deep internal struggles that are oftentimes a part of awakening spiritually and into a place of grace. Because the message that I just keep getting over and over is, the suffering is really, really more and more and more. It's optional. And what causes the suffering is the mind. It is the mind that causes it, and the attachments. And we're going through so much change right now on the planet, so much activation, so much transformation. And it's the mind that really struggles and rebels and doesn't know how to handle that. So mystics throughout time and across many faiths have spoken about the relationship between suffering and spiritual development, from the Christian concept of the dark night of the soul to the indigenous recognition of the shaman's calling, which often occurs through the psycho-spiritual crucible of awakening, to Buddhist teachers on the way out of suffering. Awakening from the human mind into the God mind is not easy, and very often transcendental experiences of awakening are preceded by periods of immense physical, mental, or emotional suffering. This suffering is made more acute when the soul experiences it in isolation of a supportive context, which would allow for deeper integration and surrender to the gift that is waiting on the other side. Because modern medical understanding of mental illness, and I put that in quotes, because we're going to really discuss what mental illness is on this call from a spiritual perspective, does not accommodate the spiritual dimension of our being. And this is the precise state that many awakening souls find themselves in who are struggling with some form of mental illness during their awakening process. And I'm going to start the council today because we're still waiting for one of our guest speakers to join. She got the time a little wrong. So I'm going to start off the council by saying that I chose, okay, Holly's here.
Akara,
Yeah.
do you want to make yourself the, I'm still, I think, the one that's visually featured. Do you want to switch that?
Is Issa still visually? It's supposed to automatically switch. It's not automatically switching.
Maybe it is.
Okay, hold on. Okay.
There.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay. All right, and I just got the message that Holly is here. So I will be introducing Holly in just a second. I'm going to first just share my story around this, because I was somebody that very much came through what I just read you. That was very written from my own experience. I had a very spontaneous spiritual activation when I was 20 years old that left me unable to function for a number of years. I wasn't able to fully function in this dimension for a number of years after that. And during that time, I was hospitalized. I was, my parents took me to so many different kinds of doctors and priests and psychiatrists and psychologists. And so it was a very big crucible for me personally in my own process of awakening, was overcoming the fear of being mentally ill and learning to really trust the consciousness that had opened in me, because I didn't really have it beforehand. And then all of a sudden it was there. And I thought it was a little crazy at first. So it took me a while to really learn how to orient with sort of that dimension and then the human world at the same time. And there was a big transformation that I had to go through on many levels, including like my whole belief systems, my diet, where I lived, what I did for work, training, learning how to, monetize the psychic gifts that had opened up for me, and all of this to basically get to where my personality self and my human self and my 3D self was now able to hold that experience in a way that didn't show up like God is talking to me, and like people are just like, Kara's totally nuts, right? So it took a while to transform. And I think that a lot of us go through experiences of you can, or I'll say this, you can go through experiences of more of a spiritual nature, or more of like psychic or energetic activations. And then there's other things. I mean, like near-death experiences can really radically change somebody's perception and their whole outlook, or even seemingly their whole personality can change after something like that. You know, alien abduction experiences, kundalini risings. There's all different kinds of experiences you can have, which that can make it more difficult to be, let's say, integrated in the ego structure, the personality, or the life experience that you had before you had the experience, right? And during that process, what can show up, like how it can show up in the in-between phase, is it can look pretty awkward. You know, it can look very awkward. So that's, you know, one form of, you know, I guess you would say like a form of a mental illness that could manifest in that process. Of course, there's other, you know, even just with, you know, with depressions, or with, you know, certain forms of mental illness, there can also be deep underlying spiritual causes for the dysfunction that somebody's experiencing. And I know this from now being somebody that works in the Akashic records. Entity attachments can oftentimes manifest in various forms of depression, mental illness, weird experiences that somebody's going through, soul loss. So if you've been through immense trauma, there can actually be fragmentation at the level of the soul, where there's actually parts of the soul that have been split off from somebody. The more the soul has been split, the more that somebody manifests with a degree of mental illness. So soul loss, I think, is a very large part of mental illness. And you know, I'm here to help everybody, you know, else. What I'll say is I feel certain that even, you know, during the time that it was about a 5 to 7 year period where I was really like iffy as far as like my integration. And I think I had all of it. I think I had soul loss. I think I had entity. I know I had soul loss. I know I had entity attachments. I know that I wasn't a well person to begin with when that Kundalini experience happened, right? So a lot of us already have trauma. We already have, you know, things going on in our lives. Then we have a spiritual experience. And then it's like, then you've added what they called mine was they called it mania and religiosity. And so I got diagnosed as being bipolar during my time when I was having this experience. And I realized over the course of many years that on some level I was mentally ill. And there was a lot of different forms of healing that had to come into my life on both a physiological level, on a spiritual level, and on a cognitive behavioral level that allowed for that full transformation and reintegration of what was genuinely a gift, which was the spiritual experience that really began the healing journey, the Kundalini activation that began the gift part of the journey. So that's what I have to share. And I'd like to introduce one of our speakers here today, who is going to share her perspective. This is Holly. I'm going to get out what she said. Holly Claire Werstein, who's a pediatric psychiatric nurse practitioner, and she specializes in treating traumatized children. I also know Holly personally, and she's got a background in a lot of different forms of spiritual practice and spiritual development. And she's a pretty amazing woman in a lot of different ways. And I know, Holly, you're here. So let me just try to find you, because I know we've got, oh, there you are. Okay, hold on, let me unmute your audio. Okay. And I'm going to spotlight your video. Holly.
Well, hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for being here. And I think it would be.
We're renovating. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, is there noise? I don't hear anything.
No, I just have this. No, this is the background. It's like, it's fine. Go ahead.
Oh, I see that. Yeah. Okay, well, fun. You're getting a new inner digs. So, so Holly, I would love to hear your perspective on the connection between spiritual awakening and forms of mental illness. Have you ever worked with somebody that was also going through some form of an awakening or a spiritual activation of some sort while they're also trying to heal from a mental illness of some sort? Of what are your perspectives? What have you seen in that regard?
Well, most certainly. And I think your introduction was beautiful, because that's sort of a really good parallel to having experienced and witnessed and been present to various patients who are hospitalized. I've done 10 years of inpatient work with adults and children, and so often people are going through some kind of awakening, and they, especially with children, they will have such a beautiful sense of being able to know things about others. We might call them indigo children, or they may just have a really mystical experience from very early on, and then they get pegged as having early onset psychosis. And it's this, and I'm more confident about being in the Western medical world and figuring out the language, but you'll have kiddos that are seeing angels, or like you're talking about entities that are attached to people, and they're very scared because they don't have mentors to say you're okay, and instead they'll be sort of affronted with this inpatient unit where people are wanting to be kind, at least for where I had worked, but are making it into a pathology. Those kiddos I will spend time with and talk about, your safety light bubble, that it is perfectly fine to see and hear things as long as you, quote, have 2 feet on the ground, right? So being able to interact like we are here, even with electronics, to say we are connecting, we have all come into community, and we recognize that we are all here. That's 2 feet on the ground, being able to have some kind of connection with those around you. It's when for me, the pathology shifts when you're so enlightened and you're so big and you're having all of these wonderful experiences or very scary experiences, and you don't have a little piece, like a little chink of light that the people around you are with you. And that's where I see a lot of the serious mental illness, where you really feel alone in that process. And so healing comes into facing someone and truly not being judgmental and allowing them to be fully themselves. And then, using different language around spiritual awakenings. And you see so many of them just like finally relax because they're not pathologized. And so that's an interesting discourse between myself and the others. And so that's why I'm so excited that you're doing this.
Oh my gosh. I love what you shared, because that was a really big thing. I remember when I met my first spiritual teacher, she literally looked at me and she was like, we're going to have to teach you how to talk. And I knew what she meant by that was that I was so confused because I couldn't distinguish between like the inner planes of what was going on and then like this world, and that was like so overwhelming. And I felt really isolated in that, and so it made me super awkward in my 3D embodiment, and I literally just needed like a new frame of reference. And it's just so sweet to hear like because you work with children, I think I have found so much healing comes from like making things really simple. Like even though we're adults now, like we still need like to be tenderly loved and cared for and like taught like it's okay, and to establish that frame of reference between like it's okay to have these other worlds that you're connected to, as long as you have your 2 feet in this world. And that was really one of the reasons why I called this council, because I felt like a lot of people were going off earlier this year and feeling really isolated in that. And I'm like, let's come together and get a common language around what's taking place so we can handle this ascension process that we're all in. So thank you, Holly. That's yeah, that's so sweet. And I know you've done, you said you've been 10 years in this, working in the field of, you know, the Western medical tradition. How do you, and I know you are familiar with, you know, other traditions. I wanted to ask you, like, have you heard about some of the more shamanic perspectives on mental illness, especially like, you know, that shamans themselves often go through like a period where they look really kind of, the mental illness is a form of initiation into the shamanic path. How do you relate that to our culture and our system that we're in?
So that's that sort of international, it's not international psychiatry, because psychiatry is a Western concept, but looking at how different cultures approach those that we in this nation call mental illness. So, I mean, you're exactly right that in some, especially in South America, you kind of have some that are really embrace, and they'll have tribes, and you'll have the person with schizophrenia. I keep doing this because it's all different for people. And they become the shaman, or they become the protected holy person that is talking to God, that is having a connection that others around them are not having. And so they're a source of wisdom. And then in other societies, they will be completely put down as being demonic only. And so I think that, yeah, it's very important to try to have a more balanced perspective and to find like the chinks of light in everyone. And yeah, that we do. Especially, so I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and in nursing, there's a sense of health is what the patient says it is, whereas in medicine, so as being a doctor, it's very curative. It's like there is a disease and there is a treatment, and we're going to apply this thing to this thing, and it will equal health. Whereas I feel like it's much better to be asking the person, well, what is your version of health? You know, okay, so you still want to be able to orate and walk up and down the streets, and that is your spiritual enlightenment. And you want to be able to make it in for Thanksgiving with your mom. So you want to be able to know what time is. And so then we'll sort of work with them on that, right? Like there's just 2 things, like different goals that you have. And so I don't definitely, especially with kids, but also with adults, like I have a saying of, I don't do zombies. You know, I don't want to obliterate people into like a stupor, right? I want to be able to say that their experience is valid. There is no judgment. How do we get you to the place you want to be? And I think that other cultures are better at doing that. And so drawing upon the shamanistic. There's also, I think I talked to you about this, and I wonder if people find this interesting. There was a story of a gentleman, it's online, so who knows, right? But the story goes that he was diagnosed with schizophrenia at 21, starts to go inpatient. His parents are associated with Harvard. They have all this money. They pour in $100,000, so lots of private things. He's on all kinds of different medications. And then they hear that there's an African tribe that when they have an individual that presents with what we call schizophrenia, they integrate them and they help them to be the holy person of the tribe. So they asked permission to have him go there, and he had a 6 months of upbringing through their tribal ways. He was completely off medications, and he learned how to integrate, like you're saying, like learn the language, learn how to say things to people in different cultures. and how to have his own healthy practices so that he could sleep, that he could be present to both the voices he was hearing as well as his own voice and those around him. And now he's back here in the States and he's doing his undergrad in psychology and like in international cultures. So, right? Right. So, yeah, really work with families sort of on, like I had a Apache Native family that came to me just yesterday, and their kiddo is seeing and hearing things, but as far as I can see in him, he's just a seer. And so I asked them, is your whole family like this? And is that your culture? And she's like, oh yes, we're all very special. And I was like, oh good. That's awesome. And so now we're working on that. Like, what does it look like to be a shaman in their tribe? Right. So instead of it being like a medicine thing, which he might need some just to help him feel less depressed about this situation. But I think once we get to him to a place of accepting himself, it'll be okay. So yes, so that was a long-winded answer. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. I basically, like kind of what's coming in for me is like when we're, just like looking at what is mental health, right? So I'm thinking, mental health is a mindset that allows you to function positively in a society, like in this world and with other people, right? So it's a mindset that allows you to relate and function well in whatever the world is. And what I loved about what you were sharing, Holly, is like you take into account, what is the family that you're born into, what is the culture that you're born into, how do we assist you in integrating the experience that you're having inwardly as basically a healthy, happy, functional reality within the world that you're in. And this is where I think like even like definitions of mental, mental illness, mental health gets so interesting, because like as we're on a spiritual path, our they say that like all of us are ultimately God, all of us are ultimately like all knowing, all powerful. And, I've done a lot of reading now of a lot of different mystical traditions, and that process of really taking the soul from a state of kind of being identified with the body in this world to bringing them into the realization of the infinite. And, it's my particular spiritual master, and this was one of the reasons why I loved Baba when I found him, because he did a lot of work with what was called musts in India, and he called them the God intoxicated, and they basically look like madmen and mad women throughout India.
Wow.
Yeah, and he went all around like taking care of them and feeding them, and he talked a lot about how like spiritual development is this process of you need to elevate the God consciousness in somebody, which is basically, causing like infinite, like could result in like almost like an egomania, right? So it's like this process of you have to raise the power in an individual and raise their consciousness while also sort of shaving down, like shaving off all the like limited, ego consciousness in somebody at the same time. Like kind of like he would say, it's like you have to almost like the humility of the personal self and the expansion of the divine self have to happen at once. And I think there can oftentimes be like periods where it's like, whoa, I don't really know like how to fully integrate that. And I think like understanding mental health as basically a function of wherever you're at, like that it comes from within you, within like your definition of what would look healthy for you in relationship to the world that you're living in and being able to function. I mean, that's really, what mental health is. I'm sure a lot of people could look at things, it's just like 100 years later, people might look back at what's normal for a normal mindset for humans at this time and be like, that's cray, you know, like that's crazy. So there's like a relativity there. I'm gonna spotlight your video one more time, Holly. Is there any?
Wow, sorry. I was just like so into watching you. I was like, oh my Lord.
No. Do you have any other words of wisdom? Because I'm feeling like we might want to open this up to the group now. But is there anything you want to say in closing?
I agree that it would be great to open it up because I'm reading some of what people are saying, and I love that we're so connected in this. And it says, well, words of wisdom. I think that it's just very necessary for us to pull the Western medicine piece into these other practices, and other paradigm and the vernacular.
Thank you for saying that, because that's another thing. I found a psychiatrist who was also basically a devotee of my spiritual master. And it was like, she was this ultra powerful mystic and a psychiatrist at the same time. And I was like, thank you, God. And I just think there's so much, I just think there's this whole new paradigm that we're opening into, which is really the merging of science and spirituality, and science and like sort of the, you know, more mystical or tribal types of traditions and ways of being. And I just find that like, it's like when the two come together, I see the most amazing healings, because we do live in a Western society. And so, I could just totally reject the reality that I'm in and cling to my fairy world, my fantasy world, but it probably won't show up as being very mentally healthy
Right.
in this dimension. So I really find that is so vital, and it's why I'm so happy that people like you exist.
Oh, ditto. Right. Like all of us. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Awesome.
We can dig into what people are saying. Here we are.
Yeah. So I'm feeling called, because I have felt specifically in the last year and a half, I felt a lot of intensity, and especially in the fall and the winter period of this last year, I started hearing stories of like light workers I've known for like 7 years, like being like hospitalized, like going through like massive depressions, going through like terrible bouts of insomnia, physical illness, people just having crazy experiences happen over the last, I think maybe year, but especially like the fall and the winter. I just happened to get really tuned into that. And I think what I'm feeling called to now is like, let's kind of like group channel what, if you want to share, like we'll let other people speak, and also what is it that we need as a group to really ground, like out of the experience of fear, or out of the experience of feeling, really out there and disconnected, and what are we bringing in, to support each other in this integration, because the frequencies are just going to keep going here on Earth. So the council is now open. If anybody else would like to share, you can unmute your line. I think there is an option. Is there an option to raise hand here?
Let's see.
I think if you'd like to share, just go ahead and open your line.
Oh, there is, Akara, at the bottom on the right, next to the names, all the way at the bottom, There's raise hand button. Do people see it?
Oh, yes. Okay, so we have Claire from Ireland. I'm going to unmute your line, Claire. I'm trying to find you here. Claire, your line should
She's
be
she's unmuted.
Okay, there she is.
Hey,
Hi. Hi,
As you-
beautiful.
hey, as you can guess, I'm not in Ireland right now because it's daytime.
Oh, wait, you're in California, right?
Yeah,
Nice. Welcome to our country.
thank you. So great to see you. It's interesting what popped in with me when you said, like, what are we needing and what's causing this? Interestingly, what I was hearing there was one of the things that's causing so much trouble for us, or for those kind of people who are really available to the new codes and the new downloads, is actually a mismatch in the money consciousness. The kind of disavowal of enlightened money conscious in the spiritual community is one of the things that's contributing to this very disruptive arrival of the new codes. So I just offer that because that just like landed in as you were speaking.
Great. You know what I'm kind of feeling is we can kind of group channel what's been going on, and I'm willing to offer like an Akashic Records upgrade at the end, so we could release, like we could create like a group field to release vows of poverty, to release distortions in the money codes, or anything else that you feel may be contributing to a disruption for you on a soul, spiritual, mental, emotional level.
Yeah, it's just really interesting that, I mean, I certainly have always understood that our level of availability to the fullness of our gifts is mediated by our money consciousness, but I was really surprised to just hear that there, that it's what causes such a kind of violence in the arrival of the spiritual awakening. And one of the ways to heal and to integrate and embody our spirituality in a more full way is to step in as the sacred custodians of new wealth as well.
Well, I can speak to the fact that I didn't really heal from that state that I was in, and like literally it was learning how to monetize my gifts that healed me.
Yeah,
I mean, literally that was what brought me from being out here to like being here. I think there's like more levels of embodiment work that I'm going in now that are more like actually based in like the body and like sexual and relational energies. But yeah, purpose and money was a big part of what kind of made me way more functional. So thank you, Claire, for bringing that up. I think we've got another. Claire, did you want to add anything else to that?
no, that was just how it dropped in, so I wanted to bring that forwards.
Thank you. Thank you. We also have Marie. Marie, you're now unmuted, and I'm gonna try to find your video. Wait, I think I found your video.
Hello.
Marie, hi.
How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. You know, I've been through just a couple of years of just integrating, but where I felt like I was definitely losing my mind, my connection to my own inner voice, to my spirit guides, to my higher self. And there were days where I was just, you know, on the floor crying and sobbing. And I felt like, you know, I just kept calling in the violet flame and the violet flame to transmute all cause, core, record, effect, and memory of every thought, feeling, word, and action that I ever experienced in any time frame or dimension, whether known or unknown. And I kept saying it over and over as my mantra each day. And it really helped. And one of the things too that really helped me to work with these fragments as I was upgrading my programs, obviously, was to a beautiful method from Archangel Michael that I'd love to share with the group that he, spoke to me about, that was to really get into your breath work and expand your pranic tube, so that column of light, and you can just visualize that column of light, and you just request from the great central sun to reclaim, reintegrate, reintroduce all of those soul fragments that are in your highest good to integrate at this time. And you can visualize these little pyramids just coming down that column of light all the way through every part of you, and then down into your earth star. That earth star is about 2 feet below your feet. And you don't have to even visualize it if you're not a visual person. Just setting the intent and staying in the energy is perfect. I like to add that I retain all the value of these fragments and the gold nuggets that they're bringing in for me to work with, and that I understand that in divine timing. And so that has helped me a lot too, to make it easier to integrate and to not have to be going in between worlds and extracting information, which just, got me into this snake pit of energy. And so I think it was very clear that we need to do it simpler, faster, and in a wiser way, so that we can be, back into our work and into our physical bodies in a way so we can function better. So I just wanted to offer that with the group. And I really feel throughout the whole journey, the one thing that has come to me, a wonderful book, Living in Joy by Sanea Roman, and just practicing those practices in that book every single day, because we are meant to grow in joy. We are meant, there is an easy button, and I kept setting that intention every single day. Show me the easy button, because we are not meant to struggle to grow. And so it's time to let that paradigm go completely and to grow in joy. And we, if that means getting up and doing laughter yoga every day, or just following our bliss in whatever it is, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And I love what the person said about grounding, what you said too, about that piece of grounding our gifts. We can't get lost in all of this and forget to show up, because when we help another person with what it is that we are wanting most, we integrate.
Sure.
So we just have to take that leap of faith and get out there and do it. My team is all surrounding us, saying it's more than this. It's so many codes, and we don't have to go into every bit of that. We can lean into our hearts and give and feel those sort of altruistic responses out in the world, where we can give to another who feels like they're going crazy, and get them grounded. And we have to drink a lot of really pure water every single day, because that's how the light is carried through our bodies. And I just feel like we're so loved for doing all of this work, and for honoring each other and coming in and meeting each other and holding the light too. Thank you, Kara and Isa, for doing the work for us and helping us to ground and to stay open-hearted, because we have to use our reason and we have to use our intuition. But when it's so much coming in, sometimes you just lose control of what's what. Am I supposed to lean here? Am I supposed to lean here? But it's really marrying that super conscious will, right? And telling the subconscious mind that we're safe to do this. We're safe to be us. We're not on a witch hunt anymore. They're not going to kill us. They're not going to stake us. We're not going to get castrated or any of those things that went on in those medieval times. We're in a new world, and we're in a new world. Not only that, but we're here to give back to this world And all that stuff just has to go. That's why I sent it to the violet flame. It was just time. You know, send it, transmute it, and let's get, you know, upgraded and back into momentum.
I reclaim, reintegrate, and reintroduce all of my soul fragments that are ready to be integrated at this time, retaining all of the value. Powerful.
Yeah, very powerful, because they do have value, and they're really just, you know, Theo, a group of archangel beings, describe them as these little orphans, you know, and if you can just think about all these little struggling orphans out there that just want to be loved. You know, they just want to be loved back into wholeness. And whatever experiences that they had, whether this lifetime or any other lifetime, they gained clarity and wisdom from that experience that we're meant to utilize in this, you know, body, in this time frame. And so, you know, asking them to do that is a beautiful, you know, honoring of them and honoring these pieces of us that aren't meant to be demonized or, you know, cast out or blamed in any way for what they've been fearing or, you know, what they've been hiding from, but to be loved and asked to be a valuable part of the whole, working towards, you know, our higher purpose, allowing our divine will to work through us so that we are upholding the highest good of the whole of us, always.
Amen. Yeah. Thank you, Marie.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm gonna open up B's line.
Hey,
Find you.
I'm here.
Okay, I think I found you.
I'm sort of dark. I apologize. Woo! That's great. It's I'm on the East Coast, so it's 9:30 and it's bedtime for me. But thank you all so much for all the wisdom that you're sharing. This is such an incredibly deep, soul-moving, beautiful experience. And I don't know if this is really a question or just a comment, but I am a person who experiences almost everything through my body rather than through my conscious mind. And so the fall and winter were hard health-wise. The last several years have been, and Akara, like you were saying, many people I know were just like, I'm just going to die now because I don't understand why I should stay. And so I guess I'm wondering if any of you have any input on how to process, to bring more awareness to the processing, because it really does all run through my body. You know, does that make sense?
Well, I would like to respond, because what I went through, like during the Trump government shutdown, was I was like, holy hell, I'm running what's going on for this whole entire country through my body right now. And I was like, F no, am I doing this? Like, it was like happening, it was happening unconsciously. And I had to go, I'll just share that I had to go in. For me, it was like a sacred prostitute, like Egyptian empire contract to like run what was taking place with like the government officials like through my body. And when I deleted that contract from my Akashic record that I was willing to do that, my health started coming back, and it's kind of opened up into me of this whole, what I'm in right now is like this whole realization that, you know, and I think maybe this is a reality for a lot of empaths, which is that I have been empaths who have also experienced abuse, usually in childhood or something, where you were kind of like, you started using your compassionate nature to run other people's emotions and other people's karma to kind of like hold space for them. And for me, I've just realized like that pattern has to totally stop. And so I've started just doing very, very regularly, like I've even been doing it on this call. It's like, even when I'm listening to you guys, even though I know all of you are lovely, I have a habit of like, I'll leave and I'll just start running what's going on for you in my own body. And so I have to be really mindful now of just like bringing my consciousness, like checking in and like literally like feeling what's going on in my body. Do I feel my energy in my body? And I'm learning like how to stay present in my own form while I'm also listening and holding space for others. And that's been like that's like a new upgrade that's coming in for me since since whatever was going on with the whole border thing earlier this month. It's like, it was actually like me learning how to have borders around my own field. And it was actually a positive upgrade. I guess I just really needed that. I was really unconscious that I was doing that a lot of the time, that I was just allowing everything in of whatever was going on around me. And so it was a good upgrade for me on like a spiritual level. I know people are going to have different feelings about what was taking place politically, but that was like the healing for me. I'll share that. And there's probably other people that can respond to your question in other ways, B.
Yeah, I was really, I feel like I'm okay at becoming aware of what's going on. But I would really like to be aware before it's like I'm running it through my body. You know what I mean? And I know I'm not the only one doing it. You're doing it. There are many of us sitting here who do this. And like, it would be so good to have it become present as a thought form before it starts affecting us physically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that we can call that in. So we now choose to realize immediately, I'm just writing this out. We now choose to realize immediately when we are running karma, energy, or thoughts, karma, energy, or thought forms that aren't our own. Does that sound right, B?
Yes, I'm typing it. Yes, that's perfect. There, it's in I typed it in the chat.
You know what else I want to bring up? This also came in with this upgrade for me, was a lot of what I was running was ancestral. Like, and I've just been like, oh, dude, ancestors, like, I'll run all your pains for the rest of this life. And I've just started being really firm with my ancestors too. I've just started being like, I'm like, I know you guys went through a lot, but I'll literally just tell them, I'm like, the best possible thing for healing you and all of you, like, and I mentally envision going back on like both sides of my lineage for healing all of you, is for me to be well, happy, healthy, embodied now. And then I'll like open up the portal way, just intentionally. All of you can experience this too. Let's let go. You know, let's let go of all the pain and the I don't know. I have some ancestors that I feel like want revenge, and they're like, I'm just like, no, like, I'm not holding your anger anymore. I'm not holding your vengefulness. I'm not holding your bitterness. I won't run any of that. And I'll like send it back. I'll send it back, and then I'll also be like, here's the medicine too. Watch. And I'll be like, I feel great. I'm loving my life. And then I'll be like, you can feel this too. And I'm like, let's let it go. And then I usually mix it with like a little bit of some like imagining, what if everybody on the planet let go of their like racial lineage, ancestral wounds and grudges, national, country. What if we all just let it go? Like, it would just be like really so much of a better party. Like, we'd have such a better time. So that's been like another piece for me. I was gonna finish writing this, but I can actually finish writing this while we hear from somebody else. So B, is it okay if I go to the next person?
Absolutely. I didn't mean to take up that much time.
Oh, no, thank you so much. Thank you, B. So this is a multi-dimensional renaissance man. Is this?
Yeah, hey,
Mike?
it's Michael. Hey, what's
Oh,
up?
yes.
No.
I'm so happy you're here. It's so
Me
good
too.
to see you.
Can you hear me all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So yeah, this is a big conversation, and I'm so grateful for this space. Like I feel like I'm just like resting in the living room with my friends, and it's like, and it's nice to be able to have a conversation with other beloveds from all over the world, where we can have this conversation out loud, which are the ones like I have only with like my closest, allies and other friends, or the conversations that I'm having in my head. So thank you so much for creating the space. I've been noticing both in my own process, because it's like comically intense. Like it's like some days it's just the level of like energetic intensity that I experience as someone who is like a public figure and also has clients, and then is like managing the world of like business and sales, and also going through like galactic activations. There's these days where just it's so intense where like all I can do is laugh. And I think like comedy and humor, and since I met my partner Lizzie, I met my beloved about 7 months ago, and she comes from like a performing arts background. So we have a lot of just like improv like in our life, and we act out like a lot of shadow stuff, and we just like laugh at it. So I think just like humor and fun and improv and creativity just been like a huge way to transmute a lot of stuff. And I'd also say for a lot of like the most advanced beings, I've noticed that they sometimes forget the basics, because they're like, oh, I'm doing this like next level quantum thing, and it's like this and that, but it's like it's that addictive quality of just like wanting to be more, do more, have more, but like with ascension. It's like personal growth frameworks on the spiritual awakening process, which gets like super dangerous. So I've noticed for a lot of like the most like outwardly impressive people, sometimes it's like what they need is like sleep, or I just like fucking sleep. Like, go to sleep. And
I like, always am like, man, I wish I didn't have to sleep. I could just run.
Me too.
All the time.
Wait, there's more. Water. A lot of people are just chronically dehydrated. Food. like just eat food and, you know, stop talk. It's like get out of the, you know, galactic council meetings and like eat something. I mean, truly, and it's funny, but like I admit that at times when like sometimes I'll go into some super deep shamanic process and it's like really intense, and I might have like spent an hour diving into something when really it was just like my physiology was tired, and instead of going into like an hour of shadow work, I might have just been thirsty, or I might have been hungry, or I might have just needed to take a nap. So the really basic human shit that like somehow like we just, some of us forget is whatever you want to call like light workers, wizards, healers, right? There's many terms to describe those of us who can who just have these gifts where we see or we hear or we feel or we know, but the human stuff and this this like real subtle like resistance to the physical world or to what people like call 3D or matter or like money or the business world, which I forgot who said it, but it doesn't matter if you're bringing in like the most exquisite like frequencies and angelic codes and like if you're not able to translate that for others, and if we're not able to, you know, communicate with people, then that like then those codes are like essentially like worthless until you can figure out how to do that. And that's a conversation that I've had with some people sometimes. And but yeah, that's just some of like what's on my heart. But I think the two things that are on my heart is one, just like comedy, comedy, improv, and like just like laughing at things, and then like the fucking basics, like sleep, water, rest, move your body, and like stand on the earth, and those things often I've noticed for people who have just been like on the like in the Ascension Olympics for the past couple of years, like those sometimes have a more beneficial effect than like another theta healing session or another like soul retrieval or another like you know like super intense energetic process, because your body hasn't integrated everything from like the thousands of like ayahuasca journeys that you've had in the past year. Not that you've been doing ayahuasca, but like your life is now a living ayahuasca journey, because like you just have like so many like multi-dimensional perceptual filters, and that's the best way that I can almost cry right now, but that's like the best way that I can share with words. Like I'm putting things to language that don't have language yet, but I can sense them through like my intuition and through my body, and I know that a lot of us have that too, and it's like it's really, really special. I can like almost cry like how special all of us are and how special all of us is. Like it's really, 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 really special. But we need to like just take care of our bodies, so we can stay here and like do what we're here to do.
Summarize this. We now choose to be present to our basic human needs and care for ourselves like little babies. We now choose to laugh at ourselves and be free. We now choose to laugh at ourselves, have fun, and be free. This is very good medicine, Mike. And I love watching you and Lizzie in your like, when everybody else was in the shitter, you and Lizzie were like my upliftment. I was like, let me log into Facebook and see Mike and his new girlfriend, because they're bringing so much joy to the planet. So thank you. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I'll just humbly share too. I mean, it's been super, super intense. Like it's pretty. There's days, many days in the first quarter of 2019 were like more intense than ayahuasca ceremonies I've had, and they're like fully lucid, and I mean, there are some days, and I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but like there's just some days where it's like, wow, that was the equivalent of like 50 therapy sessions. Sure. And like just talking and like being alive and being authentic and transparent with all of like the feelings and everything that's like coming up. So yes, like everything is authentic that I share, and we have been in an amazing joy portal. I think a lot of it comes from just our ability to communicate and speak to things that are like super underneath the surface. It's been like gnarly shadow work, and a lot around like sexual energy, like the distorted sexual energy grids, which I know you've spoken about that. But Lizzie's just like, she just sees like so much. So there's been a lot of that like transmutation of like anything that's not God. I just felt called to share like how intense it's been, but like that's just the new normal now. So it's either like evolve or just continue to like evolve and find ways, and I think just be super vulnerable with like the allies and the mentors and the brothers and sisters who've been there. It's like we're totally navigating without it right now.
We need each other. Thank you. Thank you so much. We have 2 more people with hands raised, so I'm gonna take these last 2 and then we'll close the circle. Thank you, Mike. I'm unmuting Alicia. And let me.
Hi.
Okay, where's Alicia?
I'm above you.
Okay, I think I see you. I see you.
I see me, and then you, and then Isa.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Thank you for doing this, and I'm glad that I stumbled upon you on the internet. I guess I was searching, and what really drew me to you was the Magdalene wounds. And my question is, it's my heart. I mean, I'm not going through so many physical changes and all the spiritual growth. I've sort of I don't know. I feel like love and relationship is where I'm at, because I did a lot of money and financial healing, and now it's like this. It's the heart, and I feel like in the last 2 years I'm going from one heartbreak to another, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm wanting that divine love, and I'm trying to fill myself up with it, but I fall for these men, and I fall in love with their divine masculine, even if it's like that much, I'll fall in love with it. And of course they're not ready for relationships, so then I find myself just in this constant pattern of repeating heartbreak. And that's my I'm on I'm trying to function, I'm trying to not be depressed, but it takes so much of my energy. So anyway, that's just my where I'm at, and I don't have any other wisdom to share with everybody else. I just wanted to sort of share what's happening with me and see if there's any wisdom from the group. So.
I mean, I think relationships are, I think romantic relationships can certainly trigger some of our deepest emotions and some of our deepest, isn't there a saying that like, the one, like if you're going to love really deeply, there's also going to be pain involved on some level. I don't know what saying I'm thinking of, but I feel like maybe I'm not the best person to answer this particular question. I feel like what I'm kind of getting is, maybe we could do an upgrade where we're really calling in love without suffering. Has anybody experienced that, love without suffering, to love without suffering, and we choose to experience love without suffering now, love free from suffering. And how do you stabilize in love that's free from suffering? And that might be a whole other council meeting, to be quite honest. I feel like we could have a whole council meeting just on that. But I do want to honor that, you know, romantic relationships can be a big part of what can trigger states of mental illness. I mean, emotional illness, or, you know, basically emotional mental pain and suffering can be triggered quite easily from romantic, you know, relationships, because they bring so much of us forward. So I want to honor that. And I'll see if anybody else has wisdom to share. But what I feel we can call in is love free from suffering, which is probably going to wind up as love free from attachment. And how do we manifest that? And I mean, the closest thing that I can say is what I've really started to realize is that I can very, very deeply love somebody and not necessarily need to be in relationship with them. I can not necessarily, they might not necessarily be the right person for me to like fully, deeply, emotionally bond to or sexually bond to. And I do feel like we can do a whole council meeting just on that. So there's a lot there, and I want to stay focused more in the topic of like mental health, but I know that like relationships very much overlap. But at least my practice has been as quickly as I can, you know, or if I see that somebody has, like, I can see the divine beloved in anyone too, but now I'm learning some different skills around like, okay, does this match up? Do these needs match up? And if these boxes aren't checked, then I have to be like, I still love you, but I'm going to love you from a distance while I keep, you know, my vibration high. And so we could have a whole council meeting just on how to uncover that. But I think for today, we could call in, like, we now choose to experience love free from suffering. Thank you.
That resonates with me. Thank you.
We have one more, Mystic RGF. I'm gonna unmute your line. Mystic RGF.
Hey, Kara.
Oh, Roberta. Hi.
That's me.
Yes.
Yes.
I think I had a dream about you the other night.
Oh, don't start with that.
I did. I'm just remembering it right now.
Yes, I had one too, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
First of all, I would like to really be thankful for this meeting, because I think this is like something that is extremely important, especially in these days. Like, it should bring it up, like, you know, like, I have no idea how many times in my life people would actually just think that I was just crazy, because I have so much spiritual and different connections and all over the place. And it's really hard for people to actually understand that I'm not crazy. I'm just like going through those things and I'm processing, and so I basically had to learn that all on my own. And you know that. With that said, like, I think it was B that was talking about it. My suggestion to you, B, would be basically just like, you know, don't take it everything so seriously, and don't take it everything to the top. So you can actually bring every bad situation. I learn with my life, and in every bad situation there's always something good and it's going to come out of it, and it's always something there to actually teach you and bring something extra in your life. And I learned in a very early age how to adapt like a lot of like dark stuff within the light, because I had no other choice. So I really had to integrate that to actually be able to, you know, just be alive. And I think I don't know, I'm on the opposite side. I don't usually go in a comedy. I usually go in a dark side to actually become a comedy. So I'm, you know, that I'm a very different person. So I usually actually work in a different way, like a reflection in your mirror. And that's basically how I usually work with those things. And you know, you guys are all amazing. And I think then every single person here, or then it's not here, then it's going to watch, has an amazing thing to actually bring to the world, and to just being you. It's just like this essence that you can't just like ignore it, and you just have to bring that part of you, because we kind of need it, like every different and all the diversity as aspects of every single thing.
So integrating, it's like integrating and accepting all
Absolutely.
your light and your dark.
Absolutely.
I will.
There's not even a chance in my life that I would actually even consider living my life without one side or the other. So I literally learned how to actually balance it out and just like use whatever it actually needs on my current situation, because we all actually need a little bit of all of it. Sometimes a little bit extra on the light, sometimes a little bit extra on the dark side, but it's always integrated. Without one and the other, it's just not, in my opinion, it's just like it's hard to actually move forward.
I would like to share something in response to that, if that's all right with you, Roberta. I was, have you guys ever tried to do something where you try to like purify like yourself like all the way? And you could do this like with a health cleanse, where you try to like your body's not actually ready to cleanse to that extent, and you go all the way in. You're like, I'm getting rid of everything, like all the toxins, all of it, and then you can kind of put yourself into a crisis, like a physical healing crisis. I've actually even had it too, where like I've tried to like cut all cords and like clear all like every single level of negative energy that was in my being that I could like possibly perceive. And I actually like realized I was like starting to lose something was off, like it wasn't working for me. And then finally I was just like, okay, I was just like, I'm going to accept all of this shadow, like that you're a part of me too. And I was just like, because I was just like, honestly, like during that time I was experiencing some insomnia. And so I was trying to like help myself go to sleep by like clearing all this negative energy. And it was just making me stay up like more and more and more and more and more. And so then I just said, okay, like I started to embrace, I started to just like have, it's like a very compassionate mother feeling, like the mother principle. Like she doesn't need you to be perfect, right? Like she loves everything and everyone and embraces everything and everyone, even like the lower level entities are embraced by the mother. And then it was like when I started bringing that in, like that compassion for myself and like literally just embracing my shadow and my light, I was like, I started like being able to sleep. Like I was just like immediately started to soothe and like was able. And you know, I have my own processes with the shadow because like I know that I still have shadow, but I kind of like set boundaries with my shadow. Like we're not gonna do this, we're not gonna do this. Like this is how I'd like this to function. And you know, I'm just trying to be as much conscious of in a conscious relationship with my shadow nature as I possibly can be without, you know, yeah, that's what I've learned works for me. So I can really resonate with that, Roberta. And that like specifically helped me with some mental health struggles that I was having, like around insomnia. That really helped me in particular.
Absolutely. And on that topic, I would actually just add then, do I actually have insomnia? Oh, yeah. But, you know, at the same time, I actually learned how to put myself in a meditate state, and I can actually just like, well, okay, so if I'm actually having insomnia and so something is actually coming through, and then that part actually needs to take over, which I do that often on my daily basis. I actually integrate both of them so I can work with whatever that day and that particular time actually needs, or sometimes spiritual, or, you know, moving on others. I integrate that within my life, and I just like, I'm tired in the morning, but I'm not exhausted because I kind of actually learn how to also fill myself with energy, because I am doing something that it is productive, that it is a healing, that it is actually helpful for a different soul. And that to me is like, it has been my lifesaver, because when I wake up like at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, okay, I should be up at 6, and I can go back to sleep. I just literally, I just try to connect with that sense of mine and just go with it and channel on that. That's the best thing for me ever.
Thank you. Thank you. That's good medicine. Okay, so I'm looking at some of the, so Holly, I love you. I think you've probably already left. Thank you so much for being a part of the council, Holly. Thank you for showing up and sharing your wisdom. I think Mike also left. I just want to thank Mike and everyone.
Hi, Miss Anai. Hi, Miss Akara. Thank you so much for sharing.
Is this Z?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, Miss. Thank you for this. This really helped me a lot, because I'm really needing to hear about this in a new, amazing perspective. Thank you for this, Miss. You have been amazing, Miss Akara. I really appreciate you just being such an amazing beacon. It's really irreplaceable. Well,
thank you, and I also want to honor that this was a group manifestation. But I appreciate that, Z. I really do, and I'm glad you're here. I didn't know you were here, so I'm glad you said hi.
Thank you.
What I'm feeling like now is maybe we could close with would you guys like to have like a group sort of intention setting Akashic record upgrade with some, I've been taking notes of what everybody has shared, and we could create like a group intention field to experience, you know, to kind of, I would almost say to end all contracts of like mental and emotional suffering and integrate these medicines that everybody has shared here from, you know, well, here's some of the things that I've written down. The reclaim, reintegrate, reintroduce all soul fragments that are ready to be integrated, living simpler, living in joy, reminding ourselves to give to others when we are feeling like we're suffering ourselves, that it's safe to be us, that it's safe to be ourselves, that we're in a new world now, that we don't need to fear the persecutions and the pains and the struggles of the past, releasing the burdens of our ancestors, choosing to realize immediately when we are running energy or karma that's not our own, and being able to let it go without having to go through unnecessarily permutations of processing something that we don't actually need to process. We could just kind of come right back into the peace and the presence of our higher selves. Employing humor and comedy and creativity and fun to process more difficult aspects of our experience. Choosing to be present to our basic human needs and to care for ourselves like little babies and children, and just sleep and rest when we need to, and eat some good food or drink some good water like all day. And then to integrate, oh, sorry, let me write down the last two. So we had, we now choose to be free from, we now choose to love without suffering, and to share our hearts with those who are safe and nurturing for us to share our hearts with. And then from Roberta, accepting both our shadow and our light, not resisting. I think like releasing all resistance to our shadow, and that if the shadow comes up, we can dance with it. So if we're having insomnia, or we're having a negative emotion, or we're having a negative complex, that we could actually embrace and have compassion for that part of ourselves, and then bring, like if you're having insomnia, just allow whatever upgrade needs to come in instead of fighting and wanting. Because that's like, obviously our mind is like, oh, this is how it should be. And then, but reality is presenting itself differently. So coming into alignment with what is. Would you guys like to do that? I have a yes. Yes. Okay. Isa, how do you want to, how do you want to do this? I mean, I can do the prayer. I could do the prayer work for it.
I can do the energy clearing.
Would that work?
Indeed.
Okay. All right. We'll do that. So, okay. So for this, I'm going to open up our group Akashic records. You guys can either just, if you want to lay down, you can. If you want to just sit and close your eyes, just like Isa was having you do in the beginning, where you're like focusing in on your heart center. I'll just spotlight the video so that I'm spotlighted here. So just start to breathe in, focusing in on your heart. Let divine truth, light, and love expand within us and guide us. We now request our individual and our collective masters and teachers, angels and guides to be with us as we access the field of the Akashic records. And we ask that the grid that is created for this space allows anyone who is here present now or who will be watching this on replay to individually, through the connection with their high self, access their own Akashic record. And we open that now. We ask our higher selves to clear us individually, and to clear our group field of all negative thought forms, energies, entities, and any blocks on a physical, mental, or emotional level. Just go ahead and allow your higher self to open. You can imagine your crown chakra opening. And we now call upon the lords of the Akashic records to apply this healing upgrade to each of our individual Akashic records and to our field collectively of anybody who will be watching this on replay or who chooses with their conscious will and intent to align with the healing matrix that is established for this particular session of the High Council. And we ask that these upgrades are made without taking on any of each other's karma, that they are accomplished through the divine grace principle as it is in the highest good for each of our souls individually and for our entire soul group and soul family collectively. We now call upon our high self to delete any and all contracts of mental suffering, anguish, despair, of any self-torture, torturous thoughts, deep discordant mental or emotional states which may plague us in our awakening process. We now release all contracts to experience depression, all contracts to experience suffering, all contracts to experience isolation, all contracts to experience despondency, despair, feeling disconnected from ourselves, from our bodies, from this world, or from this life. We now ask that all of these contracts are burned, root, branch, and seed. And we collectively and individually now call back all of our soul parts and our soul fragments which may have been attached to these experiences, whether they derived from our personal life in this life or from any of our past lives. We now call back, we reclaim, we reintegrate, and we reintroduce all soul fragments that are ready to be integrated at this time. Embracing and retaining the value of these fragments, completely allowing it to integrate with the quantum light quotient of our entire sacred body, temple, and soul essence now. We also ask that if there are any entity attachments to any of the former traumas or pains that were a part of this old reality for anybody that is on this call now or was on or will be watching this in replay ad infinitum into the future, we ask that through the divine grace principle and the grace of that person and our individual higher selves, that all of those entities are safely transported, provided with a third order escort to transport them to the astral plane justly earned. Please block all further access between any of our souls and any removed entities. And we now consciously release any discardant spirits, ancestral entities, astral forces, or dark forces that are not meant to be with us anymore. Go ahead and envision like a tunnel of light opening above your head that's just pulling up any of these frequencies. You can imagine angels taking them up and away. And you'll also throw in there any negative thought forms, negative emotions, negative energies attached to your former contracted experiences that are now broken, burned, canceled, cleared, and deleted. We now ask that all experiences of persecution, any programs related to persecution from past lives, the persecution of our ancestors, any ancient resentments, fears, our blocks to embodying our light, which derive from past, present, or ancestral experiences of trauma. We now ask for all of these experiences to be cleared and deleted. We ask that any portal ways to other lifetimes or to specific ancestral experiences which are generating negative emotional charge or mental states in our lives, we ask that all of those portal ways now close. We're safe to be who we are. We're safe to be ourselves. We are living in the present moment with infinite possibilities. We are living in joy. We are living simply, quietly. We now choose to awaken immediately from any and all pathways which would cause us increased suffering on our path of awakening. So all potential future realities which would cause undue suffering, undue cycling through negative experiences, we now ask for all of those to be closed. We now choose to realize immediately when we are running karma, thought forms, negative vibrational experiences, or the energy of others, or unnecessary karmic residue, we now choose to wake up immediately to realize we do not need to do that. And we ask for spiritual assistance to provide us with any of the spiritual guidance or tools that we may need, whether that's meditation, whether that's a new dietary practice, whether that's a new mindfulness practice that will assist us in staying present and not running down any rabbit holes. We now choose to be present to our basic human needs and to care for ourselves like little children and tender infants. We fill our bodies with compassionate love, and we now choose to laugh at ourselves and to have fun and to be free. We choose to love without suffering and attachment. We now choose to realize the union of the masculine and the feminine, the union of the spirit and God, the union with the beloved within ourselves, and that the experience of love is not dependent on anybody outside of ourselves. And instead of looking for love, we now choose from this place forward to give love, knowing that in giving, we receive. And in loving, we experience love. And in offering gratitude, we experience happiness and we experience joy. And if there are any other upgrades that haven't been mentioned in this or any other language, but which would support any of our souls in our group collective in realizing ease and grace and happiness and joy in our spiritual awakening process, freeing us from any forms of mental discord, mental illness. We ask that those upgrades now come to us now, and we open ourselves for that organic, intuitive experience. And so what I'm getting here is that a lot of us have been resisting being who we actually are. Like I can see a lot of like these really far out, beautiful, magical higher selves here. So we're going to close this first meeting of the High Council by really choosing and inviting your unique high self. The high self is like the divine soul essence. It's like the God self, your unique God self. I'm going to invite that all the way into your body. And notice like what your divine God self looks like, and what there may be some special messages for you here. And we now ask that all of these upgrades take place and integrate into our third dimensional lives, into our bodies and our physical DNA with the greatest mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, sexual, and financial grace, ease, and comfort according to our own unique individual divine timing. We now seal our fields with golden light. Imagining this golden light moving all around and about and through us, blessing us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we now wish to thank the guides, teachers, and loved ones of our higher selves, our ancestors. We thank the High Council. We thank Holy Goddess Sophia. And we especially send gratitude and love to each other, to all of us who are here today, who have spoken, who have shared their wisdom and their gifts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we now close the collective field of the Akashic records and our individual Akashic records, sealing them with love and with light. And we come fully back into our bodies now and into this third dimensional realm. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen.
Amen.
And I'm going to need to come back from that. Thank you all for participating and being here today. For those that didn't share, your presence and your just your heart and your beauty, thank you so much. Isa, do you have anything you want to share to close the space?
I was just thinking the same thing about how I felt the presence of everyone here, those who spoke and those who didn't, and just how much I appreciate everyone's wisdom, and also just the light that we shined tonight on patterns of pain, whether they're in the mind, the body, the heart, and how valuable it is to just have this conversation, and just how healing everyone's presence is and was and always will be. And I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you, Akara and Holly and everyone.
Mm. Mm. And I know you're offering a transmission tomorrow that may also be of support to the people here. Do you want to talk about that?
I will say a few words about that. So I've been in the energy of this transmission for some time, as have we all. So we are all experiencing a release of an old paradigm. And I think it was Marie who was talking about that, about letting go of struggle and suffering. And it really is a choice. But I don't mean that it's a choice in a willful way. So we have available to us amazing miracles that we have already received that are waiting for us in our wings. And it is a choice to relax and receive those things. And there are many programs that can and often do run that can prevent us from allowing our divinity, which is already here and always was, our perfection. So this transmission that we are receiving tomorrow, I received over the course of a year and a half. It came in the form of 13 separate New World Light transmissions. So supporting us all to receive the new world. And the new world is an effortless one. So it is a world of ease. And so this transmission is to support us in the belief of that. So releasing disbelief, it's bringing in faith. It is allowing for the quantum leap, or the quantum shift in consciousness. So it's tomorrow night at 9:11 Eastern time, and it's a silent transmission. So all you do to receive is just lay back and relax. And it's available between Good Friday and all the way through Mother's Day. So it truly is a crucifixion healing. We're cleansing and releasing effortlessly from our soul's history. So I'm calling it a spring cleaning.
Isn't it also like allowing the miracle to happen now?
Yeah, it's really for receiving the miracle that you didn't believe in, which is actually already here. So and you know, there's, well, I don't want to say too much about it because I think I've said enough, but we all have so many gifts, and we've seen some of those tonight. And so much of what is here and what is available to you, I'm talking about your own power, your own divinity. You yourself may be holding back. I know I've done it. And, you know, it's been a process just simply to allow, to, you know, to rest. So we heard that mentioned earlier. And for me, that's been the hardest thing, is just to relax and allow. So this transmission is for that, as we all transition from head to heart. And, you know, our fearful mind patterns, that, you know, they exist in the mind, and God bless the mind, we need the mind. At the same time that, you know, we are so much more than the mind, and there comes a time when it is time to let go of the past and allow ourselves to be in the new consciousness that is already truly here, not only available, but is already here. So yeah.
I have to say, I love, I mean, as somebody that's like very mental, very like in the I don't know. I'm just like a very intense personality. I love your energy, Isa, because it's like I'm with you, and I feel like those layers start coming off, and then I'm like, oh, it can be this easy. It can be just like right now. Like you remind me, like no more suffering right now. Just be in that. I don't even know what to call it anymore. Like the presence is the best word.
It is the present. It is the new reality. It is our willingness to birth ourselves anew and to birth this world anew. And really the only thing that stands between us and that is our disbelief of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's collective. So, it's a collective consciousness, and it happens one soul at a time. Mm. So that we're all doing it together. It's a massive collective receiving. So again, thank you everyone just for being here. That's really what heals the human addiction to suffering. It's presence.
Mm-hmm. So thank you all. This closes the first meeting of the High Council. What I will say is that we'll post the replay link for this on the archives page, and I'll post some resources there. I took some notes when people shared certain things. Like Marie shared a book, Living in Joy. That'll be another thing that we do during these council sessions. If people want to share resources around a specific topic, we're going to create like a compendium of knowledge, I guess, or help in the archives underneath this. And this is going to be an evolving experience. Right now, Issa and I are committed to holding one of these per month. And it is a volunteer experience, and we're looking for people that might be willing to help manage a Facebook group, because both of us obviously like run our own businesses, and we need help to manage this if this is going to really take off. So this is an open and sort of organic experience. We're open to suggestions. If you have an idea for a council meeting, if you'd like to speak on one, you have a topic you'd like to facilitate one. I know I kind of facilitated this one, but I don't necessarily want to be facilitating all of them. So just reach out to me or to Issa. My email's kara@wakingbeauty.com, and Issa's is Issa, I-S-A, Dona, D-O-N-A, @alllovehealing.com. And just want to thank you guys for being here. Hope you have a really amazing, really powerful Easter weekend. I think there's some very powerful energies going on this weekend.
Happy Easter.
Thank you, Keith. It was so nice. I saw we had like a man here. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you. Thank you.
There were men. Yes. Thank you to everybody else too. If we didn't get to connect with you and you were just listening, thank you for your presence. Thank you, Trisha and Sarah and Ashley and Anastasia. Everybody, thank you so much. Mwah.
Thank you, Kara. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye, Miss Carl.
Bye, Z.